really excited about our next guest who is joining us from the Houston area. He's a former NFL running back, so spent time with the Lions, the Bucks, and the Rams, as well as the Bills in the early 90s. Vernon Turner, welcome to the show for the first time.
Amy Law, how you doing? How's everything?
It's good. I'm so impressed that you are so wide-eyed and bushy-tailed at this hour. What time do you get up?
I probably get about 3:30 in the morning. I'll do a little workout, get my day going, and I'm nonstop. I fear that I'm going to miss something. I'm going to miss out on something if I stay asleep.
Oh my gosh!
mentality.
I wish I had that mentality because I wish I could sleep more. I'm kind of the opposite.
No, I don't get it twisted. Now I enjoy my time of sleep, but at the same time, I got this mentality that each day, each moment is a gift, and I'm going to take full advantage of it. That's just the way I live my life.
Well, we certainly should have more of that perspective. You are right. It definitely is a gift. The NFL is into its first month. You played in the early 90s. I'm not sure how much you still pay attention, but what's one of the biggest differences between when you played and today's game?
Well, the first thing I noticed, it's really difficult. I'll be honest with you. It's really difficult for me to watch it a lot of times because I see it's like a 180. Like the Benny Blades, Steve Atwaters, the Ronnie Lotts of the world, they couldn't play in this era because they would be suspended and fined all the time. I mean, the mission was to seek and destroy. Now these guys are thinking a lot more. It's causing a lot more injuries because they're thinking instead of just playing. And that's difficult because now I'm watching quarterbacks. I mean, if you just go near them, the official is getting ready to throw the flag. So those are the types of things that really, I mean, I use this term, they have wussified the league.
Ooh.
You know, I'm sorry, it's just the way I see it because, they still hitting, they're bigger, stronger, and faster, but I don't know, it's really difficult. But at the same time, I get what they're trying to do. They're trying to safeten up the league. I get it. I totally understand. They're trying to make sure that these guys have a life outside of football. I get it. It's just it's a very difficult balance that they're trying to perform here, and it's tough to watch as a former ball player.
You mentioned in not only When You Speak, but also in the story that you wrote for the Players Tribune in 2016, which we'll get to the bulk of that coming up, that Walter Payton was your inspiration for football. Why was he the guy that sucked you into the game?
It was the timing, Amy. It was truly the timing. I was at a point in my life when I got introduced to football that as a young kid, I had a lot going on, a really lot going on. I was living an adult life. And I needed an outlet. I was upset. I was pissed off. I was frustrated. I had low self-esteem, and I needed an outlet. And football was that outlet. My stepdad introduced me to the game of football. And then the first game I saw was a preseason game, the Jets versus the Chicago Bears, and I saw this guy play, and he embodied everything that I needed, and that was he just had a toughness about him. That I don't care if I have the ball or not. We're bumping heads. You know, we're gonna bang. And once I saw him, it was a wrap. I wanted to play football, and I wanted to play running back. I wanted to wear number 34. It was just something that it just stayed with me even to today. You know, I talk about him all the time.
Former NFL running back Vernon Turner spending a few minutes with us here after hours on CBS Sports Radio. I had a chance to go back and read the full column that you wrote, first person. It was a note to your younger self. You did it in the Players Tribune in 2016. As you mentioned, you had a lot going on. You were in a kid's body, but you were an adult taking care of your younger brothers and sisters because of your mom passing away when you were in high school. Why was it so important for you to tell that story, Vernon?
You know, there's a quote, and I always say it when I go and speak, with motivational speaking from Mark Twain. There's two most important moments in your life. The first one is when you're born, and the other one is when you find out why you're born. And for the longest time, I didn't know why I was put on this earth because of how I entered it. I had, my mom was brutally gang raped at age 18, and it's embarrassing for me to admit this, but I'm a product of that. I'm a product of that horrific moment of my mom's life. And there was times when she would look at me, and before I found out, and the way I found out was I walked in the bathroom after school, and she's in the bathroom shooting up. I mean, a needle in her arm at age 11. I found this out. And she summoned me in that bathroom, and she told me what happened to her. And prior to that, she used to just look at me with such cold eyes. She just looked through me. And it was just the most painful and hurtful and scariest thing as a kid to see your mom look at you that way. And then I found out at that moment why she was looking at me like that. And I needed something to get this out. When Players Tribune approached me about the article, I didn't think much of it, to be honest with you. But then when the ghostwriter called me and said, "Hey, V, if there's an opportunity for you to talk to your younger self, what era would that be, and what would you say to them?" And he hit record, and I started talking, and that's what you read. It was one of the hardest things I've ever had to do, because I had to actually sit there and talk to my younger self. You know, it was really tough, and it was almost therapeutic because I really struggled getting through it, because I really lived it. I relived that whole thing.
Sure.
And I have an opportunity now. I have an opportunity to help as many people as I possibly can. What I mean by finding my purpose. My purpose here on earth today is to help as many people as I possibly can with my journey, with my story, that they may not, hopefully, won't go through the things that I went through. And that's my purpose on this earth now. Now I get an opportunity to do it on a larger platform.
So after telling your story, writing this note to your younger self, and as you mentioned, your mom passed away. It was pneumonia, right? But her body was weakened by all the drug use, and you were left to take care of your brothers and sisters, and you go to college, you play football, and then on to the NFL. After having all these years in your rearview mirror and telling that story and going through it again, what was the response, Vernon?
Well, the way you just said it, it was just like matter of fact. I had no business playing in the National Football League. I was not that good. I was not that good of an athlete. If it weren't for the fact that my mom passed when I was a sophomore in high school, my dad passed when I was a freshman in college, it's 5 of us. And my aunt came in and moved into my home while I was in college. My freshman year, my senior year, I received a phone call from her, and she told me, "Baby, I can no longer do this. I can't care for the kids anymore." I took that call standing up, Amy. My knees literally buckled. I panicked, and I shifted into a survival mode, because 2 years prior to my mom dying, she always would say, "If anything were to ever happen to me or your father, it's your responsibility to keep the family together." And that's all I thought about. So I went from, you talking about training regimens from hell. I actually wrote to Walter while I was in college, and he replied, seriously, true story. He replied 2.5, 3 weeks later, I received a letter, and he gave me some of his training regimens, running through the woods with the football in hand, full speed to elude the trees. I mean, it's unbelievable things that I put my body through. Half the time I was crying because of the pain that I was going through with my body, and the other half I was crying that if I did not pull this off, my family was gone. So anyone who came up against me one-on-one, if they weren't ready to die on a football field, there was no way in hell they were going to beat me. That's the only way I made it in the National Football League. Played 6 years. My rookie year, went to the Super Bowl 1990 with the Buffalo Bills. I was fortunate and blessed to be the first man to ever return a punt for a touchdown for the Buccaneers. And I did that when I had no business even being in the league. So I was way ahead of the game when I got put on when I first made it in the National Football League, I went back home and I cried with my family. And not because I was a professional football player. That was the least of it was because I kept my family together. I kept the roof over their head, and I was able to keep them all together. And that's the most, people ask me, what's your fondest moment? Keeping my family together. That's all I thought about.
Before I let you go, now you're in this process of putting putting this together in a movie package. So there's going to be a movie made about your life, and Derek Jeter's production company, the Players Tribune production company, is putting this together. What's that going to be like to have this on a big screen, Vernon?
Well, it's one thing to release a book, The Next Level Up Game I Had to Play. That was my first book that I wrote about my life. It's one thing to portray my life in the form of a book, but to have it reincarnated into a feature film, which I really want to thank Derek and his company for jumping on board and running with this thing. I'm scared. I'm scared as hell because there are aspects of my life I still have not. I'm struggling with. I have a hard time coming to grips with, and to have it come to life and see people portray moments of my life, especially my mom. My mom's role is going to be phenomenal and scary for me at the same time.
Sure.
I'm scared. I don't know how I'm going to get through it. I'm going to need my family and my close friends to be right next to me when I actually watch it. And they even going to be on set. It's going to be an unbelievable process. I'm looking forward to it, but at the same time, I'm scared as hell.
Well, I know it's still a little bit down the road, but we hope that you will join us again and talk about this process as you go through it, as you want to. That would be great. You can follow Vernon on Twitter. Now, you've told me you don't do a lot of Twitter, but at least they can find links to columns and other things that you're doing on your Twitter at Vernon M. Turner, the former NFL running back. But that's only a very small part of your story. Vernon, it's so good to talk to you. Thank you so much for a couple of minutes.
Amy, you are actually stuck with me now. You are stuck with
Yes.
me. I'm not going anywhere. You're my girl. You're my girl.
I love
it. So anytime you need me, I'm there for you. You have my word on it.
All right. Well, I look forward to talking to you again. Again, thanks so much for being up early. You're a crazy workout, 3:30 in the morning. That's nuts. But we were glad to have you. It's good to talk to you.
You take care. I love you. Bye-bye.